Ba da ba da bum, ba ba da bum ba. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. A little bit of a stupid start to today's cast. How you guys doing out there? Getting started a little early today because, as always, I'm just sort of sitting here. Austin writes, how's it going, comrade? Any luck with joining the Communist Party? Nope. I just don't hear back from these guys. Like, it's just real simple. I feel like either they're just too disorganized or they took one look at me and they were like, nope. Like, I feel like these organizations, once they see that I have, like, this YouTube channel, they're just like, oh, no. Like, organizations and parties like this, they don't want somebody who has their own positions and opinions, right? They want somebody to come in who's going to kowtow to the party line, and they're not really going to be that interested, which is a shame. I used to interview communists and people across Canada and all that kind of stuff, and it's something that I think I might want to get back into, right? Start reaching out to communist parties and start bringing them on the show and start talking to them and start seeing what's what. Because, I don't know, I feel like my role in all of this is to try to shed light and bring people forward, and it's not necessarily to, I don't know, take power for myself. Like, it's like, my dream is really to find, like, your Trotskyist parties and then your communist parties, like your quote-unquote Stalinist parties, and to try to get these guys to actually work together, you know? Like, that's the thing that's killing us. Like, the thing that's killing the left, and the thing that will always kill the left, and the thing that will continue to kill the left, and the thing that will continue to make us irrelevant, is that we're all in our little intellectual ghettos fighting tooth and nail for, like, no, Trotsky, right? And meanwhile, the banks just should be nationalized. And everybody agrees with that. Like, that's the big thing, is that, like, you go to these parties and you talk to them about what they want to do. Like, what do they actually want to do? And they all say exactly the same thing. Like, they're all literally like, number one, nationalize the banks. Right? So it's like, we and maybe this is what I should be focusing on, is reaching out and trying to find ways to get these groups to actually organize with one another. And the real truth is, like, we gotta, everybody's just got to take over an organization like the NDP, right? Like, the NDP is as weak as it gets now. The new Democratic Party, started by Tommy Douglas as a socialist party, slowly degrades over the years as Tommy Douglas dies and gets taken over by Jack Layton, and then basically degrades into essentially a liberal, neoliberal party. And now we're at a point where, like, because it has degraded so badly into irrelevance, it essentially has, like, what, 7 seats now? So it's just, like, not a relevant party anymore. Yeah, Yves Angler is running for NDP leadership. Yeah, we'll see about that, Jeff. Like, all of these parties are corrupted from the inside. Like, that's how this works, is that, like, for example, the cleanest example of what I'm talking about is the Democratic Party in America. That the Democratic Party in America is completely degraded. It's completely gone because there are superdelegates. There are people within the party who basically just get to look at millions of people's votes and go, no. Right? That's how Bernie Sanders loses against Hillary Clinton. Right? That's how they've kept Bernie Sanders out of leadership in that party. Is basically by just going, no, Bernie Sanders, no, that's a bridge too far. And then they scratch their heads and wonder why Donald Trump wins twice. Like, and the NDP are doing the same thing. The Democratic Party has always been a bourgeois party, though, yeah, but like, it's gotten to the point now where there is just no possible way for your vote to matter in the Democratic Party. Like, there was a period of time where, like, yeah, if 10 million people voted for someone and 2 people voted for someone else, well, the million people would win. That's over. That the people who are being selected in the Democratic Party are being hand selected. Like when Kamala Harris was appointed, like that was as blatant as it gets. There was no leadership convention. There was no vote. It literally was just like a handful of people, or just like Harris, and that was it. Content writes, "Wow, treble all the way up." Oh yeah, is my voice sounding really pitchy? I don't know how to change that. Is my voice sounding really pitchy? You guys let me know. Is the audio bad? Maybe I should take a second and like click into the other machine, see if my... Hold on. Let's just take a second. No, it's fine? It's fine? Okay. I'm not going to spend too much time on audio stuff. I gotta take a moment in my life and like recalibrate a lot of this stuff and all this, but I'm just gonna not do it right now. Personal update is literally just I am going with the flow of the universe. I'm literally just taking everything day by day. It's so funny. I'm just like financially I'm set for doing this training. That my temporary teaching English as a second language stuff is starting to kick up. I'm going to start doing that next week, I believe. And next week is going to be... So I'll start doing that. And then I'm also going to start doing this other job, which is reading books to the elderly, which is going to be really lovely. I'm really looking forward to that. I hope that really expands. I hope that's something that I get to do a lot of. Because I find that to be so enjoyable. Reading books aloud. It's part of the reason why I like doing this channel, because I get to read articles to you guys, which is really lovely. I'm a really big fan of doing that. And so it's just like financially, everything's set for me. It's like the universe basically aligned everything properly, and so it's just like my personal life. Like what do I do with my personal lives? What do I do with my personal life, and how do I, just go day by day and get through every single day, and every time I like do a little bit of self-help or meditation or spiritual work or guidance, it's like the same thing. Just focus on yourself. Just do the thing that you want to do. Don't worry about what's going on so much. It's like, oh, okay. Jeff, read the 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get right on that, my man. So let's just pop in. It's tough to play this game of focus on yourself when the reality around you is aligning itself into Nazism. America is collapsing into Nazism. Like, there's just no way else to describe it anymore. And it's kind of getting to the point now where I'm not even sad about it. Like, I'm not even, like, grumpy or upset about it anymore. I'm just literally like... So, you got a new bill getting pushed through by Marco Rubio, where if they decide that they don't like the things that you say, they can revoke your passport. Isn't that great? Like, isn't that absolutely wonderful? So given what we've seen very recently with the big story that's going on, and besides the Charlie Kirk stuff, which is persisting, the big story... Oh, I'm super organized, you guys. I'm super, super organized. I definitely organized myself to be able to do this. Yeah. The big story that's happening right now. Baldy, good to see you, my man. Always a pleasure. ABC to stop airing Jimmy Kimmel Live after host's comments on Charlie Kirk killing. And like, let's be really clear about what Jimmy Kimmel's comments on the Charlie Kirk killing were like as softball as it gets. I don't think he could have been more softball. Like he literally didn't have a commentary on Charlie Kirk. That he straight up showed a clip of Donald Trump reacting to somebody asking him about the Charlie Kirk killing. And it was the clip where Donald Trump goes, "Oh yes, we're very sad for him, but do you see our ballroom?" Right? Really just kind of illustrating that Donald Trump like doesn't actually give a shit about this issue. doesn't actually care about Charlie Kirk, cares more about his stupid ballroom that they're building than anything else. And that's not really a commentary of any sort on the Charlie Kirk assassination. That's not even really an attack on Donald Trump. It's just like showing Donald Trump and what he said and what he did. And Jimmy Kimmel gets pulled off the air for this. Right? Like, that's government censorship. Like, that's government censorship. And it's not new. If you recall back in, like, the 9/11 era, Bill Maher had his show pulled off the air, but he actually said something controversial. He said that America had it coming. He said that America has been antagonizing people, and so it was only natural that such a thing would occur. And he had his show pulled for that. The difference, in my view, is that during the 9/11 era, you didn't also simultaneously have this story floating around, where they're going to start pulling people's passports. And so let's make no mistake. Like, here's your weekly dose of truth. Here's your truth bomb for the week. Make no mistake, they are going to come for everybody. They are going to come for literally every single person. There's going to be no stone unturned. They are going to sweep under. They are going to move aside the bookcases and open up the hatches and look inside. Like, they're going to do these things. That first they came for the communists, right? Which they would do if there were any in the United States, right? And so if you're a person, like, I have family that lives in the United States, right? I know people in the United States. And you're telling me that if those people stand up and say something akin to Charlie Kirk had it coming, or something akin to Donald Trump is a bad president, that they could have their passports revoked and that they will be trapped in the country, that they won't be able to get out, that they won't be able to flee. Like, how much longer, like, for real, how much longer until they just pull the trigger on DEI services across America? How much longer until they just pull the trigger on diversity, equity, and inclusion groups? How much longer until they just say simply being part of an organization that we don't like is un-American, and that we're going to revoke your passports? And these are people who have already rounded up people and put them into concentration camps. They've already shipped people over to Ecuadorian death camps. They're still doing that, by the way. Like, that hasn't stopped. They didn't quit doing it. We just stopped talking about it. Right? Like, this is the society we live in. This is the society that we have created for ourselves. This is our this is the West. And I just find myself, Oddity, good to see you, my man. Oddity says they already came for the communists 50 years ago. Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, Canada will get invaded. They don't need to invade Canada. They'll never need to invade Canada. Canada will always bend the knee. Always, always, always. Like, if it comes down to it, between, like, invasion versus capitulation, Canada will always capitulate. And I find myself saying the thing that I've always said, and I'll say it over and over again. It doesn't need to be this way at all. Like, it's gotten so topsy-turvy and ass backwards, and everything has gotten so inverted and ridiculous that standing up and actually saying, hey, we could just provide food and shelter for everyone, We could just make sure everyone's basic needs are taken care of. That's considered a radical position. That the radical positions in the society are, hey, if you work, even saying out loud now, hey, working a full-time job means you should have a house, is now considered a radical far left position. Like, hey, we should have clean drinking water. Hey, we should have clean food. Hey, we should make sure that we have an organization whose responsibility is to make sure that the food is clean. These are considered far left, like hyper, ultra far left positions now. That anything outside the Overton window of complete and total capitulation to corporate power is considered a radical position. Like, we are absolutely going to experience enormous, like, it's just so wild to me that I am going to live through and I am going to witness the genuine collapse of a major superpower and a major civilization. Like, that's actually going to happen in my lifetime. And that I'm going to be sitting here watching it happen from my little corner, reporting on it and commenting on it the best that I possibly can. And as it's happening, I'm going to just be saying every single day that I talk about it, we could stop this. It would actually be pretty easy to stop it. Like, in terms of the action that should be taken, in terms of what activity we should do, in terms of like what policy we should follow, it would actually be really easy to stop it. We make so much food, we have so much stuff, we have housing. Like, it's not that we don't have these things. It's not that we don't have them. It's that we're being disorganized intentionally by a group of people who benefit from the disorganization of the society. People who, in the past, I have described them as chaos death knights. That they worship chaos. Yeah, Mash Patel said bad people are coming through the northern border. Yeah, I mean, like, we're in hysterics. Like, this is a hysteria. Like, this is a mass hysteria. And that we can't get out of it because we think that what's happening has a rationale behind it when it doesn't. That we are in a collective mass hysteria. Like, on the same scale and on the same level as, like, the Salem witch trials. That historians from the future, should there be any, will look at us and scratch their heads and be like, holy cow, like, what overtook these people? What mania? What crazy mania overtook these people that put them, like, and it'll be literally on the same level as, like, oh, they were eating all that lead. Oh yeah, the Romans, they were eating all their stuff was made out of lead, and that gave them their brains melted. And they'll talk that way about us. Oh yeah, all those microplastics, all those microplastics. Yep. And here in Canada, our parliament is cheering to a Nazi again. Yeah, I don't actually have the a clip of that, but our parliament is literally standing up and applauding. The last time we applauded a Nazi, it was in front of Zelensky, where we took literally a World War II Nazi and paraded him in front of leader of Ukraine, Zelensky, and standing ovations. It was a huge scandal. And everyone pretended as though it was a mistake when it was obviously intentional. That one was great. What was his name? Hunka? They brought him up in front of everybody, and I'll never forget the Speaker of the House when he was introducing him. He literally was like, and now a World War II veteran that fought against the Russians. And then he paused and his eyebrows just shot right up because he had that dawning realization that, oh, this guy's a Nazi. Because just saying, oh, he's a Ukrainian that fought against the Russians. You're a Nazi, my man. Like, there's just no other way to describe it. And so that happened under the Trudeau administration. And now under the Carney administration, the Canadian Parliament gave a standing ovation to Charlie Kirk for some reason. Like, giving a standing ovation to, like, during a foreign delegate visiting, like, that makes a certain level of sense. I have no idea why Canadian Parliament, of all places, would give two shits about Charlie Kirk. Like, make note of it, discuss it, talk about it. But I think what it really comes down to is it is this bending of the knee. It's this kowtowing. It's this... It's not that the Canadian Parliament actually cares about Charlie Kirk. They just don't want reprisal from anybody. They don't want to be seen as taking a stand. Right? So they're spineless. They're just utterly spineless. And their American counterparts are like, oh, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk. So the Canadians are like, these guys really care about Charlie Kirk. We should just be like, yeah, Charlie Kirk. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk is like a Nazi. My favorite thing about this period of time, when you're looking at the socials, because really what it's done, because Charlie Kirk is white and wealthy, right? He's on the side of empire. What it's done is it's really activated a lot of inactive white people, right? Like 85% of the public is basically just like not present, right? Just not really paying attention. 85% of the public is just like, wake up, go to job, get money, work hard. Hard work, good. Like, that's sort of the level that most people operate at. And the 15% that are active, that are politically engaged at all, like 80% of those people are fascists. And so that leaves you with like 4 to 5% of the public generally that are like, yeah, money's not real, we could just help each other. Like, we could, it would be easy. And so when you have a moment like the Charlie Kirk assassination, you've got a bunch of inactive, disconnected white people basically suddenly going, what's going on in the world? I didn't realize things had gotten so bad that a white man could be assassinated in public for speaking his mind. Because, like, the absolute bullshit of, like, the free speech free warriors, right? The free speech warriors are fraudulent losers, obviously. Anybody that stands up and talks about free speech, where are these guys? Like, where are these guys? Like, they don't care about their free speech. That for them, free speech was always just an excuse to go after trans people. It was always just an excuse to do that, which is what I've been saying the whole time. Fascists speak to terrorize and recruit. That's the only reason they speak, which is why they should not be permitted to speak. And their whole like, oh, freedom of speech is sacred, unless we do it, unless it's us doing it. Who knew that genocidal maniacs would also be flamboyant liars? Who knew? Jeff asks, how do we protect ourselves? Find groups. Like literally, I'm not joking, find militia groups, find people who are arming themselves, find people who are seriously, genuinely, actually protecting themselves in serious and actual ways, and join those groups. I am not being hyperbolic. I am not being dramatic. If you think I'm being dramatic, farewell. You don't need to stay here, you don't need to listen to me. Like, we are in a crisis position. And our leadership is not protecting us. They're not interested in protecting us. That we are in a harvest time. This is harvesting. They're harvesting us. That's what's actually happening. Dave, good to see you, my man. What's up, John? Glad to see you again. Glad to see you too, Dave. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good. I just went through like a real dark period, like a real black period of my life, and I feel like I've come out the other side now, and things are looking really good. I think that these next months and this next year is going to be really positive for me. I'm feeling like I've got the gift of time. God has given me the gift of time, and I'm really going to take advantage of that, not just in terms of enjoying my life and like my mental health, but hopefully in terms of building up my own projects and the stuff that I care about. And one of the things that you guys constantly request is that I get back to doing the graveyard walks, and I'm seriously considering that. I think I might just do that, just because I've got the time. I've got the time. Baldy writes, and people are giving a lot of problems to a Conservative MP named Jag Sharan Marshall because he's Indian. Yeah, nothing new there. It's just becoming like you're allowed to do it now, right? Like that's the negative consequence to all of this. That's the negative consequence to all of this is that you're allowed to do this now. You're allowed to be a racist again, and everybody's just supposed to tolerate that, right? DM, good to see you. PM Carney will finally announce Canada's record huge deficit, over $150 billion in his November 4th budget in Parliament. Would this trigger another snap election? No. I have always found that the deficit conversation is a waste of time completely. Like, you are talking to a person who says routinely, money isn't real. Money isn't real at all. Like there's nothing there. It's a fabrication. So when you see $150 billion deficit, well, if you actually crack open what a deficit is also a surplus, right? Like that. What's going on is a it's a reporting trick. It's a propaganda trick, right? That if the government of Canada prints $150 billion and puts that $150 billion to work somewhere, they're creating a $150 billion surplus, right? They're creating a $150 billion surplus. And the question is, what are they doing with it, right? Like, are they taking that money and just giving it to their billionaire friends, right? Or are they like building hospitals, right? Are they building infrastructure? What are they doing with that surplus that they're creating? What's that surplus look like? How does it manifest in the society? But we routinely report on these things as deficit. They're creating a $150 billion deficit. It's a deficit. It's a problem. And oh my God, they're throwing, oh my goodness, it's a huge, massive fictional problem that doesn't exist because money isn't real. You know how they could get rid of the deficit? By just getting rid of it. Like literally. Like governments aren't businesses. They're literally not businesses. The idea that a government can go bankrupt is a childish idea. It doesn't actually exist. It's not real. And so the reason, right, there are good reasons why people genuinely hyperfixate on deficit conversation and deficit talk. And a big one is that there are a lot of lunatics who think that governments are businesses. And then there's a lot of Looney Tunes people who think that that power comes from finance, right? These are the reasons why everything is falling apart. That's a reason why everything is falling apart. That if you think real power exists in finance, then you're going to make a bunch of dumb decisions. Because your theory of how societies are structured and how and where power emanates from is wrong. just factually wrong. Like, you're just going 1 + 1 = potato, and it just doesn't work. Elaney over on Twitch writes, besides, even if you think money is real, a lot of it is issued by our government, and they could just be like, yeah, we don't need that back. Like, all this could be fixed with free education, free healthcare. Yeah. Like, I was talking with someone just the other day, and to their credit, they admitted that they didn't really know much about the subject, and they brought forth the idea of like, well, if you just print money, doesn't that create inflation? And it doesn't. You know why it doesn't create inflation? Because you stop inflation in the society after you print money through two ways, right? One is the natural way, and the other is just the getting in front of it way. The getting in front of it way is taxation. You just basically say, oh, once the money starts to pool, right? And where's the money going to pool? Underneath individuals, a billionaire, like Elon Musk, for example. You just tax it away, right? Well, what happens if you don't tax it away? Well, the money still pools underneath the billionaire. And because billionaires are inherently worthless, and they don't actually use their money for anything valuable, and they don't help anybody, right? That money is functionally taken out of the economy, right? Like, if you have $400 billion just sitting underneath someone, it's not in the economy at all. And so that's what stops the inflation from occurring, is that either it's taxed away from the society or it pools away from the society. And so then you just need to make a decision as a people of, are you willing to tolerate a billionaire or not? And my advice is we shouldn't. We shouldn't tolerate billionaires at all. We should tax them out of existence. That it is useful to tax them out of existence because billionaires are a net negative to the society. Radio Halifax, good to see you. Hull, conservatives turn out to be the snowflakes. Yeah, no kidding, eh? They always were, though. Like, they always were. Really think about what the position of a conservative is. Really think about it. Like, they accuse us of being the snowflakes because we want to include people. That when we see somebody wearing a turban, or when we see somebody with a different religious worldview, or we see someone of a different sexual orientation, we think to ourselves, sure, they have differences. Welcome aboard anyway. Right? We should be treating everybody as if they are human first. Right? That we should have basic humanity for one another. Right? And we're the snowflakes for saying that. But what's more snowflakey than saying, that guy's wearing a piece of cloth on his head? He should be excluded. And pretending as though it's not happening. Like, to me, that's Charlie Kirk's greatest sin, right? Is that he promoted this idea, like, you listen to him talk about slavery, for example, and he just talks about it as if it didn't happen. Just straight up. Yeah, I got a radio. My audio is a bit distorted. I feel like everybody is complaining about my audio. I think I just got to get a new mic, and I just got to go through my audio and do a new thing, because I think my mic is starting to fall apart. I think that the way that I've got my audio set up is not great. I tried to do some recording the other day, and I really noticed it. So I just need to... The trouble is that I don't have any money to buy a new mic. So if you guys want me to get a new mic, maybe think about donating to the cause. Good opportunity to say like, share, subscribe. Hit those bells, hit those whistles. Let everybody know that I exist. Because, like, it is as it is. I don't do this for money. Like, I do this for my own personal sanity and my own mental health and my own sense that, like, we're living in a post-truth environment. Like, we're living in an environment where the truth no longer matters, and people are pointing it out. We're seeing more and more that, like, it just simply doesn't matter what is or is not true. Eleni writes, then if printing money causes inflation, why do they support things like the stock market and crypto? Well, they know that crypto is a scam. Like, they understand that crypto is just a pump and dump scheme all the way up and down, right? Like, there's nothing to it. And that really what crypto is a private currency for billionaires to trade sex slaves with each other. Like, that's really what it is. It's not a like, anybody who cares about stability, anybody who cares about unity of a country would look at something like crypto and immediately be like, no, like, what are you talking about? We're not going to allow billionaires to just have their own currency. Like, what are you even talking about? And, like, the stock market is just rich people feelings. Like, the idea that you should base your society based on the feelings of a small group of wealthy psychopaths is asinine. Like, it's insane. Hull writes, he won't be missed, that's for sure. That's what his assailant said. A little bit of gallows humor there for you guys. Drizzling says, if you're in charge of the printing of money, you're in charge of the stock market and crypto. Sort of. Like, theoretically, no, but I definitely take your point. I think the big difference, of course, is that, like, we shouldn't be creating alternative currency flows, right? That it's just a bad idea. It's just a bad idea for the stability of your country. Like, you don't want to have, like, what's the best possible example that I could give? Like, a metaphor. A good metaphor is like how streaming has come, right? Like, streaming has showed up, and at first everybody was like, oh yeah, streaming services. Oh yeah, okay, haha. Now all of these streaming services are like, to get involved in all these streaming services, you would need to spend, like, what, 10 times the amount that we were spending on basic cable to get access to all of this stuff now. So it's just a flop. And what it means is that everybody's input and what everybody sees is different. Not everybody is seeing the same thing. Not everybody is experiencing the same culture. Drizzlink writes, it's simple. There's not enough gold and silver to go around. It's like saying there's not enough inches to go around. Like, as soon as you understand that money is simply a measurement tool, like, that's all it is. It's not scarce. It's never scarce. And it doesn't matter how much you have of it. That it's simply a measurement tool. Like, thinking that it's an actual commodity, that it's like an actual object that actually exists in the world, is akin to saying you can't build a building because you'll run out of inches. Like, money has always been and will continue to be only and exclusively a measurement tool. And it's the reason why we're getting into so much trouble is because we pretend as though, and we believe as though, it is a physical object. That the goal isn't to use money in order to facilitate goals, society building institutions, right? Maintaining institutions. We believe that the goal is money itself. Having money is the goal. And if you read, like, The Economist or the Financial Times, you'll see that that's the case. And this problem is actually manifesting itself in the society writ large. Like the major conflict that is happening on the world stage right now, the major conflict, isn't military. It's these two forces, these two separate ideologies, these two economic theories that are crashing into one another. And the economic theory of the West is that power is finance. Money. Having money is power. Money is power. And the economic theory of the East, which is being able to create things is power. The means of production is power. And these two forces are ramming into one another, and the East is winning. The East is winning because it turns out that money isn't the point. It doesn't matter how much money you have if you don't have water, right? If you don't have goods. Like if you were alone on a desert island with $100 quadrillion, you would be the poorest person in the world. Drizzlink says, okay, go build a building. I'm only going to give you $2. Okay, but I'm the government, right? So I don't rely on you. Like this is the problem with your thinking, is that you think that the government is a business, and it isn't. Like who are you in this conversation? Like your analogy doesn't make any sense. You're going to give me only $2, so you're the government in your own analogy, and you're only going to give $2? Well, then you've set up to fail to begin with, right? But if you're actually the government, you can just print the money, and you can just create it to have it. No. Okay, so we've hit it. Drizzlinks doesn't understand what a government is. Governments are not businesses. Full stop. You are just wrong. Just like 1 + 1 = 2 at some point. You are factually, full-scale, incorrect, full stop, and you need to rethink your position. Calling me dumb has not changed the fact that you are just wrong. Right? And you are so wrong, you are so incorrect that you just need to be confronted on it, and you need to sit on it, and you need to think about it. Governments are not businesses. They can't be businesses. There are so many major differences between businesses and governments. I know, Anemone. Hi, how you doing? Right? I can't believe we're still having this conversation. Yep. No, and he's already left, so he didn't want to hear the truth. He just wants to live in his religious ideology, and there's nothing to be done about that. Like this is the problem that we're facing, and I just see it again right in front of my face. Is these people are bought into a religious ideology? Like it's just like I told that guy that Jesus isn't real. I might as well have said that, and then he just immediately bounced because he was like, Jesus is our Lord and Savior. You're dumb. I'm gone, and that's what happened. They don't want to hear that governments aren't businesses. That governments are governments. We have a first-time chatter over on Twitch. Hirako, the aim at the moment, in my opinion, is either the dividing... Oh, sorry, bud, I was just reading your first comment. Is the dividing of the world into smaller factions or company control over governments with the corruption in Asia and Eastern Europe. That thing is so easy to see. I don't know if I understand your point, Hirako, or your question, rather. You haven't visited Eastern Europe, then, where all the politics are done in the interest of the state. Yet the state that pays a lot of the politicians stealing money on rural projects. Yeah, what you're describing there, Hirako, is something called fascism. That the quote that I like to use when describing fascism was the one that was attributed to Mussolini. That Mussolini is attributed to have said... fascism is better called corporatism because it is the merger of business and state, right? So you have a state that isn't aligned to actually help people, it's aligned to help businesses. And they have a theory, right? They have an idea that they say, which is a rising tide raises all boats and the money will trickle down. That's their theory, right? And so Eastern Europe, like you think Ukraine right now, for example, which has been pretty much taken over by fascists, this is exactly the theory that they're running with. That you tax away wealth from the people and then funnel that wealth into the hands of businesses, and it creates essentially a slave economy. right? Because businesses are, by their very definition, tyrannical dictatorships. Every business is a top-down tyrannical dictatorship. And with the exception of like a co-op, which are few and far between in the society. And so those tyrannical dictatorships take over your government, right? And once the tyrannical dictatorships take over the government, you are looking at fascism. That's why when you hear, here in Canada, when you hear about private-public partnerships, you should be very skeptical of those. Not simply because they don't work, but because they are fascist. Like, that's the whole point. And that anytime you hear this neoliberal rhetoric, which is essentially just recouched fascist rhetoric, you should be very, very skeptical of it. And so, in that configuration, in the fascist configuration, right, the reason why ultimately fascism leads to this decay and leads to collapse and ultimately has to lead to militarism and has to lead to state terrorism and state control is because it's a poverty generating engine, right? If you take all the wealth away from the mass of the people and you give it to tyrannical dictatorships that offshore their wealth and then just sit on wealth, you end up in a death spiral. And nothing ever gets maintained, nothing ever gets created, nothing serious ever happens. Right? Dave writes, John, at some point the people of the Western nation will start asking to whom we owe this debt. Yeah. I mean, I'll be surprised if that ever happens. I think that, like, when the real shit starts hitting the fan, like we already have the National Guard being deployed into cities. We already have all this. We already have the concentration camps. We already have all this stuff. That, like, when people begin to push back seriously, I don't think they're going to be pushing back in economic theory. I think they're literally just going to be like, feed my family, and that's all it's going to come down to. Anemone writes, yeah, I'm tired of pretending this fake green paper has any significance at all. I just want to live my life. Yeah. That's what's so embarrassing about all of this, is like, this could be easy. This could be easy. Harako writes, I am in Romania. Good to see you. I work in farming. Yeah, everything is done around politics. We pay taxes. The state complains that it has no money. Yet, a lot of the million projects are given in the rural areas. Nothing gets done there. Then you see mayors riding around in Mercedes. Yet we still vote for the same fucking assholes that get fucked this continent over and over again. Yeah. Like, your state is subordinate to tyrannical dictatorships. Businesses. And the very last thing that any state, or rather any of these tyrannical dictatorships, wants the state to do is regulate them and to take control over the means of production and over the ability to create things. That's the very last thing tyrannical dictatorships want. And that these tyrannical dictatorships need to convince the populace that the state is powerless, that the state is a problem, that the state is a business unto itself, which we just saw in my chat right here, is somebody with the religious ideology that the government is somehow a business, even though there are very obvious and very clear differences. And so, in your country, right, what happens is that you pay taxes, right? And then the state takes your taxes and they give it to your tyrannical dictatorships. And those tyrannical dictatorships say, in theory, what we're going to do is we're going to invest that in our society. But they don't, right? They keep it. And that's what's actually happening in your country. And it's the same story all the way around the world, especially the Western world. Like, it's the same story all the way around the Western world. And it's unsustainable. It will collapse. It has been collapsing. And it will continue to collapse. And what's hilarious about it is that there's a example of countries across the globe that are not operating on those principles, and they're being very successful. And it's going to get more and more obvious. Like, it's just going to get more and more plain and more obvious that the theories, the economic theories that we have been running on are wrong. That what we're running up now, and again, we just saw it in my chat here with this fellow that came in and made himself look like a fool and left, is that we are now confronting a religious ideology. That the metaphor I use and the example I use is, it's as if phrenology was never rejected. That after phrenology was disproven, a whole group of people said, no, phrenology is correct. And they built an entire institution and then took over like institutions based on this idea that phrenology is actually correct. Eleni writes, when communication breaks down, what the heck are we supposed to do? Think about how January 6th was for American citizens, and these people, like elites, are untouchable. Yeah, Eleni, at this point, it's about knowing your neighbors. It's organizing with your neighbors. It's getting to know what's going on in your neighborhood, right? That is actually what it is about. That the communication system that we have in place is designed to alienate you from your neighbors. Is to make it so that you don't know who your neighbors are or what they're doing. It's to make it more difficult for you to organize with your neighbors. And so getting to know your neighbors is going to be what's really, really important. And building neighborhood groups and neighborhood societies, right? Like, that's what we're actually supposed to be doing right now. Because we don't have another alternative. Because as the system degrades and as the system collapses downward, that's all you're going to have. That's all you're going to have. Haraku writes, even better, as of last month, we get taxed like 100% more. Ooh, even better, the taxes to the multinational companies get decreased. Yeah, even better, the taxes for creating company raised from 40 euros to 1,600. Yet the world is so effed, as the other person said. I just want to live my life, but it seems like everything that is done to make our lives harder. Yep. Well, I guess I'm here to be the bearer of bad news and shine the light towards what is hopeful. But here's the truth, Hirako, is that we are seeing a rise in fascism across the Western world. That we are entering a fascist moment. Like a true dyed-in-the-wool, complete Nazi salutes, goose-stepping, like, fascism is returning. And as things decay and as things collapse downward and as things get more difficult and more desperate, people will respond in more desperate ways, which will lead your bankers, basically, because bankers are the heart of the whole thing, to fund further and farther right radicals, who certainly exist. Like, if you want to see the place that's more advanced than everybody right now, you want to take a look at the UK. UK just had like a far right rally where they say it's 100,000 showed up, but if you actually watch the videos and you actually watch the clips, it looks like a few million people showed up. And we are going to see the fascists take over. We are going to see it. And they are going to do the same things that they did previously. That maybe they won't directly target the Jews, but they'll target the Muslims, right? They'll target immigrants, like that, and we're going to see, complete with concentration camps, complete with the whole thing. Like, it's going to be the same. And if the public starts to act in such a way that the communists of that day were acting, like, remember, like, during that period of time, pre-World War, like post-World War I, going into World War II, people were just taking over factories. They literally were just like walking over and taking them over and telling the capitalist owners to go get fucked. And then just operating them. And that's a big reason why the capitalists turn around and fund Mussolini and fund Hitler. Because they don't want their factories taken. And as things get more desperate and as things get more absurd and as things get more ridiculous, we'll start to see it. We'll start to see it. Eleni writes, the saddest part about Christians and religious capitalists is they worship a green piece of paper more than they worship their own God. I'm not even a Christian. I just find it funny how our God is money. Yeah, the trifecta. I call it the unholy trinity of the capitalist death cult. Is the worship of money, the worship of the self, and the worship of chaos. It took me a long time to figure out the chaos piece, but now that I have, it's made a lot of sense. And each one of those three pieces reinforce the other piece. That the worship of money as a god reinforces the worship of the self, because your self-worth and your value is only and exclusively measured through how much money you have. And then the worship of chaos, well, chaos is the system, the free market. What is a free market except for a chaos system? The free market is how one gains their money to see how valuable or worthwhile they are in the society. And of course, the free market is how you get your money. So it's the tool of God's will. And this is the religion that capitalists practice. And it's the prevailing religion of our day. And we don't talk about it as if it is a religion. We don't discuss the religion of capitalism as if it is a religion. Not with the seriousness that we should. Because the truth is that if capitalists were actually scientific, they would be Marxists. Content writes, heads up, Mussolini never said that. I read his bullshit and he never mentioned anything like that. I read the whole source of the alleged quote. That's why I say it's attributed to Mussolini. I tend to agree with you, Content. I don't think Mussolini actually did say it, but it's attributed to Mussolini. And I also think it's just accurate. Like, I think that it is just like, it's a distillation of the theory of fascism. Like, if you read the works of Mussolini and you want to distill it down into its finest point, I think that is it. That if your society was being run by the Pope, right? If the president of the society was the Pope, no one would struggle at all with understanding that this is a theocracy. Well, if your society is being run by a banker, right? If the prime minister or the president of your country is also the head of a bank, guess what? Guess what you've got? Anemone writes, was reading an article earlier today. The current sun cycle isn't ending as predicted, but ramping up. Possible that a solar flare could just take all this out. Here's hoping. Anemone continues, best part, we have used 99.99999% of all readily available resources, so we most likely would never go back to how things were before. Crazy how this shit was all made up by the majority are acting like nothing can be done about it, yeah. Content writes, honestly, Mussolini was fairly incoherent, just nonsense. Oh yeah. No, his writing is pretty nonsensical. Like, it's not a cogent theory, and that's why it falls apart. Joe, good to see you. Good to see you. Like fascism doesn't work in the long run. The only reason why it can kind of shore up and become something akin to a society or something akin to a civilization is just through the force of violence, and it's tough to keep that going. It's tough to keep that going. Like, you really, like, any system that requires hypervigilance from the society in order to maintain is destined to fail. simply because of the nature of humanity and how it works. A, humans get exhausted, right? We are exhaustible. And then B, it's very difficult to pass the baton from generation to generation. The Goat, good to see you. What are we talking about? We're talking about fascism, baby. It's very difficult to pass the baton from generation to generation, right? It's very difficult to pass the baton from generation to generation. And especially when you live in a society that has erected something it calls an education system, but isn't an indoctrination system, and that indoctrination system exists to promote fascism, right? So that makes it... Oh, one second, guys. I just want to open my window. It's getting hot in here. Yep. It's getting hot in here, so open the window. And so you have the... Oh, sorry, guys. I have people, like, working outside my window here. Never mind. Close that back up. So So when you have a system that is designed to collapse, when you have a system that's designed to fail, right, which is our system is designed to fail, it's designed to collapse. And so when you have that system that's designed to fail and that's designed to collapse, the only way to prevent its collapse is through hypervigilance. Whether that's a hypervigilance that says, hey, each and every one of us are equal and we should have good in the society, right? Like everybody should be treated well. Or whether that's a hypervigilance that says we should suppress sections of the society. Well, you can't maintain that through time. Like, this is how the Roman Empire falls. This is how all empires fall, is that eventually people are just like, what are we even fucking doing here? Like, the British Empire literally, like, why are we in India? Like, what are we even doing there? Like, what's the point? And then, and we're going to see that happen to America. That, like, think about what America looks like in 20 years, right? Think about what America looks like when you're Donald Trump's and when you're Joe Biden's, your Bernie Sanders is. Like, these people are going to die. We're going to watch them all die. And the society is going to pivot. The society is going to change because of it. As the boomer generation dies, as the boomer generation goes away, there's a pivot point coming. And no more is that more obvious than in what's going on with Israel. That Israel is, if you're under the age of 30, you stand against Israel. And that's pretty much like baked in now. That if you're under the age of 30 and you are still pro-Israel, you are in this like hyper minority. And it isn't soft support. People are like, yeah, these guys are genocidal maniacs. And so, and Israel itself has come to realize this. It sees that that's the case. And so it needs to act now. Because it knows that it's going to lose the support of America. It knows it. It can't rely on America's support in 30 years. Because anybody who is pro-Israel right now is over the age of 70. Those people are going to die. Like, they're going to die off. And what are we going to be left with? Eleni writes, part of it is that they won't pass the torch because they think it's admitting they are dying. Yeah, you're onto something there, Eleni, which is that like, there's a reason why there's this hyperfixation with a youth culture, which is being manifest through plastic surgery. Like, Donald Trump still dyes his hair and still puts that orange shit on his face. Right? Like, who's he fooling? There's this denial that exists of their own mortality. Because at the end of the day, they view themselves as gods, right? There's this self-worship that happens in the society that oh, I can't die, I can't be mortal, right? I can defeat God. And the real reason why they don't want to pass the torch is because they think they're right. Right? Like, they think they're right. Like, nobody does the things they do because they think they're wrong. Right? They think they're right. They think they're correct in what they're doing. And we're all going to watch the consequences of it. And the consequences of it are going to be the same as any empire that fails and that any empire that falls, right? We're going to see the American empire withdraw from the world to the benefit of the world, because I don't think Africa and China and India have been benefiting from America's inclusion in world affairs and world politics. We're going to see a withdrawal. We're going to see America attempt to continue to reassert itself militarily closer to its own borders. Think Venezuela, right? And it'll fail, by the way. It's not going to work. And the reason why it'll fail is because Venezuela is A, well prepared, and B, actually has allies who are actually willing to help defend it. Eleni writes, Bangladesh and Kenya and Nepal, they will just end up taking it and are like, oh no, why aren't people giving you children? Well, why? They don't have a future, and if you continue to ignore them, they will take it. I don't know if I understand your comment. Who's they, and they will take what? Like, America is constantly being thwarted throughout Africa now. America is really struggling to maintain control of its empire throughout Africa. Like, You've got former colonies that are just rising up. Oh, Laney writes, Gen Z and the young people will take their own future. Yeah. And I think that when you start seeing, if you start seeing similar uprisings actually happen across America, like, you're going to see, how to say this properly. Like 14 years ago, we had the Occupy Wall Street movement. And the Occupy Wall Street movement, in my view, was like the shot across the bow for the death cult. That the death cult should have taken a look at that moment and thought to itself, okay, we need to actually reintegrate people back into the system. We can't simply continue playing this game of abandonment, where everyone gets thrown overboard for the benefit of a small group of wealthy elite. That if the wealthy, the 1%, were actually intelligent and actually capable of intelligence, they would have done everything they could to reintegrate people back into the economy, and essentially just allow people to have a basic standard of living, right? Like people don't want much. Like, this is the thing that's so embarrassing about what's going on in America, is people don't actually want that much. Like, people are happy to go to jobs, and people are happy to participate in a society that they think is actually supporting them, right? That's why you have, like, in nations that have high taxation, people are happy to pay those taxes because they feel like those taxes are being used to actually help them, and that it gives them a quality of life that they wouldn't otherwise have. But instead of actually saying, oh, we should do something to help these people, they basically just swept it under the rug, ignored it, and then the lineage of the Occupy Wall Street movement can be tied to the George Floyd protests, where you have people who now they're not only just taking to the streets, now they're burning down police stations. Now they're destroying corporate property. Now they're actually destroying stuff. And again, instead of responding rationally to this, you end up with the George Floyd protests being used as a lightning rod for a rising fascist movement. And now when these protests begin to strike up again, when you have another light up like that, which will happen, it is inevitable, I think that what you're going to see is exactly what happened in Nepal. That you're going to see young people walk into their parliaments and walk into their state legislatures and basically grab these people and say, you're no longer in charge, get out. And that's going to happen in like Nebraska, and that'll happen in Colorado, and that'll happen in Mississippi. That'll happen in Washington, right? Like eventually there will just come a point where the system is not going to be able to sustain itself, and that the people who are experiencing it will simply say, you have lost the right to govern. This entire system has lost the right to govern. That's the coming shift. Like, that's the coming shift that I think people don't understand, is that lots of people are still stuck in Democrat versus Republican, but you do see this emerging narrative, and the way it's being articulated is it's up versus down. It's not left versus right, it's up versus down. Well, what is that but saying that the system of electoral politics itself is fraudulent? What is that but saying that we no longer are going to take this electoral system seriously, and that eventually people will take matters into their own hands? And this is when the empire goes full fascist and starts to fight against itself in a serious way, which is like the fundamental backbone of what's going on in the society, is that we are watching a society turn against itself. And that instead of all of us saying, hey, wait a minute, we are all human, we are all Americans or Canadians or English or French, instead of saying that, the society is turning against itself on a class basis. That there are those who have and there are those who have not. And instead of everybody saying, yeah, people should people should be invested in the society that they live in, the narrative is coming out to say that those who have not are just jealous. So it's going to be wild. And Ong Noing writes, good to see you, Ong Noing. There's one striking difference between Rome's collapses and America's. Our words are backed with nuclear weapons. Yeah, that's a fun little wrinkle, isn't it? That's definitely a fun little wrinkle. Oh, and then there's also just like the reality that climate change is just going to wipe us all out. Like, we're not at all prepared for it. Like, we're not at all prepared for it. People, this article here that I have in front of you is actually quite positive. It's got like a hopeful sort of vibe to it, where we're just going to, that there is like a solar energy leap that is happening, right? What the renewable revolution, which is happening. Like, it's China that's doing it. But like, the negative consequences of climate change are definitely we're going to get caught by it. And I won't be too surprised if climate change becomes one of those issues that takes the forefront of the conversation again, because serious things start to happen to people. I think the funniest thing. Yeah. Long Defiant writes, I was just pricing insulation for my house. Prices are crazy effing nuts. Yeah. No, like, we're getting to the end of it now. right? Where it's the harvest. This is the vacuum sucking out the very last blood from the marrow. That if you want anything done, it's going to cost an extreme amount. Yeah. And it's just kind of beginning. Not beginning, like we're in the throes of it, but like it's going to get worse. That's the thing. Like, we are looking at genuine systemic collapse where people are not going to be able to afford anything. Like anything. Pick something. The narrative of its exclusion from your life is coming. And like people are going to talk about this time period that's coming up in the same way that they talk about the Great Depression. And again, one of the things that I think about when I say these things is how grateful I am in my own life. That I'm actually quite grateful for how things have gone for me personally. And that this next year is actually going to be quite positive for me. That I get to slow down. Like one of the things that I find myself saying all the time is, and in the midst of all of this insanity, we have to go to work. Like we have to go work for this death cult. And I'm kind of not in that position anymore. Like I'm not going to go work for a death cult. I'm not interested in working for this death cult that has aligned itself to be a death cult. That comes at you with smiling faces and, you got to go talk to HR, right? And everything is like all flowers and sunshine and rainbows as long as you submit, right? As long as you take your humanity and put it aside and just be a little cog in the machine. Don't express yourself as a human and everything will be fine. Yeah, Long Defiance says, pink insulation alone is $900. I'm floored. I'm going to have to get creative. Yeah. No, dude, like, there's a reason why the society is in disrepair. There's a reason why the society is falling apart. There's a reason why it's happening. Like, there's a reason why you could get, like, a fully formed, new, freshly made house in the 60s for, like, $60,000. And now, to buy the same house that's run completely down, where everything needs to be repaired, it's $1 million. And it isn't because we don't have the stuff. It's because everything is owned by a small group of psychopaths who literally are like, yeah, just keep raising the price, it's fine. And prices, wow, profits are higher than they've ever been. What a successful venture we've all launched. We've made more money than we've ever made in the company's history. Like, what do you think is happening? And we just keep going along with it. We keep pretending like this is normal. And we are reaching that point that Marx predicted where we won't be able to afford the goods that are produced. That I don't think Marx fully predicted the degree to which we would have an import economy. I don't think he fully realized that we would literally give away our means of production to the degree that we have. And that's definitely, like, you think about what the challenge is for America over the next 50 years, even 100 years. That's the challenge. The challenge for America is that it doesn't make anything. It doesn't manufacture anything. And that its currency is going to be worthless. Like, this is going to be a very difficult period of time. It's going to be a very difficult period of time for America and for Americans. Simply because, like, we've ceded so much authority to a class of psychopaths who genuinely do not care about anyone that their only goal is to make money. And so even if we decided, hey, we should probably like take care of our children, right? We should probably take care of everything. Well, that's going to mean confronting these psychopaths. And that's at every angle. There isn't a single moment. And like, these guys are doing things like trying to reinstitute slavery. These guys are going to reinstitute all of this shit. It's going to be like, it's going to be like the SARS returned. The Goat writes, I was on a BCGEU picket line today and yesterday. Support your local striking workers. They need it for sure. Wizard of Lizard, first time chatter, says, it's why I have 25 or so firearms now, 50k rounds. I mean, it is kind of getting to that point, Wizard of Lizard. Like, it is getting to that point where as things decay and as things decline, we are going to have to create serious defensive groups. And it is going to be those groups that are able to defend themselves and are able to protect themselves that are going to see more success. Simply because, like, police services are not going to be able to handle all of this. Yeah, Wizard of Lizard writes, 10 years ago I thought I'd never own a gun. Yeah. Yeah, the cops ain't coming anymore. Yeah. Vermi, first time chatter, we are screwed when AI robots get here. So, Vermi, one of the things I want to confront people about with the AI stuff. Thank you for bringing up the AI thing, because it's worth bringing up. AI doesn't actually work. So, the reason why we're getting jammed with this AI stuff, right? Yeah, I'm going to explain it to you, Vermi. The people who are trying to get us all involved in this AI stuff are psychopathic salesmen. Nothing else, right? They're trying to just let me get to the point, and then we can have a discussion, okay? They're trying to convince you here. So all AI is, I believe it was Harvard. I got to find this article again because it was one of the big. It was like Oxford or Harvard or one at Cambridge or one of these guys that did a big study on AI, and what they found is that all AI is a very complex autocomplete system. So using it every day with something like coding, for example, that's fine because you're probably using it to rehash the same code over and over again, right? So you're like, I need a code that does this. And the thing is like, oh, then autocomplete this. Like this phrase equals this code. Boom. And so AI is useful for that, right? Although we've seen the studies showed that there isn't actually a use case for increased productivity, that we still need someone like you to not only input the coding, but then to input the phrasing rather, but then also to check the code, because AI will more likely, well, AI will enough of the time get it wrong that it will need to be redone. But here's the problem. Like, this is the reason why AI isn't going to do the thing that they say it's going to do, because they're just psychopathic salesmen that are trying to sell a product, right? Is that when AI is given like basic grade 6 level logic puzzles, it fails. And it fails every single time. So like, think about your logic puzzles like there's a fox, a chicken, and yourself on one side of a river, and you got to get over to the other side of the river, but only 2 people can go on the same, right? I'm just going by the studies that I've seen. Vermi. And this is the thing that convinces me that why I don't think it's going to work the way they claim it works. And it's because it can't succeed basic logic puzzles. That it's not actually thinking... why am I blanking on that word? It's not actually thinking... logically. Like, it can't solve problems. All it's doing is taking your phrase and then doing like an autocomplete on it in just a very complex way. And like, sure, we're scared of it. Like, it all boils down to like Terminator robots, right? Like, that's where our imagination goes. That's where our consciousness goes. It's Terminator robots. And don't get me wrong, like, I think it's more fair to say that robotics is scary. Like, drone warfare is scary. The dog robot with a flamethrower, that's scary. But it isn't scary because of like an autonomous AI that takes it over. It's scary because psychopathic capitalists have control of it. Like, that's what I'm trying to get. Yeah. Vermi writes, you don't even need AI to create a soldier robot better than a human soldier. Exactly, right? Like, this is kind of what I'm... Like, my encapsulation of the entire thing is that the problem isn't AI. The problem are capitalists. And are just these psychopathic capitalists. Like, that to me is the fundamental core problem. And that how the capitalists are presenting AI is as if it is this infallible god, right? Like, so what they're going to do is they're going to rewrite our history. They're going to rewrite our history and rewrite the history in such a way, and they'll have the AI vomit out whatever history they want, and there'll be a segment of the population, a large enough segment of the population, that will just treat what the AI says as sacred and sacrosanct. And so whatever the AI says, that's just the truth, even though it's been programmed by psychopathic capitalists who exist only to cause problems for us. And that to me is the real threat of AI. It's not that AI will take over a robot soldier, because like we don't need to replace humans. Like, humans can control a robot autonomously. Humans can control drones autonomously. Like, there's no shortage of humans willing to kill other humans. Like, we definitely don't need to worry about that. It's the robotics that's concerning. It's the drone warfare that's concerning. Like, drone warfare is going to make things are going to get really wacky with drones. Like, if you ask me a big reason why there isn't currently more warfare going on right now is because of the deep uncertainty surrounding autonomous drone warfare. Vermi writes, AI is not to be dismissed just because we don't have AGI. It's just the beginning. Yeah, I'm not trying to dismiss it. I'm just trying to say what it is. Like, that's like, how do I say this properly? Like, I'm not trying to be offensive when I say these things. It's just like, humans have a tendency to get caught in their imagination and get caught in their emotions. And that we have a tendency to be afraid of things because we believe they exist as opposed to seeing what actually exists. That is it possible that there is like an artificial general intelligence that arises and then that general intelligence manages to gain its independence? Is that possible? Sure. Right? Like, if we can imagine it, chances are good that it is within the realm of possibility. Sure. Does it exist? No. who is selling us the idea that it does or that it will? Oh, like psychopaths. Like people who are actually detached from reality and are trying to cause us a lot of problems. Okay, why would they be selling us this idea? Because they want our money, and they also are trying to set themselves up as like the kings of a new era. Right? Like they want to be at the top of a pile, and it doesn't matter if they're actually delivering on what it is they promised to deliver. Like Elon Musk proved that you can just say whatever and people will kind of believe it. Like, we're going to be to Mars in 10 years. We're doing it. It's happening, right? And he just lied over and over and over again. Just spread a whole bunch of bullshit around. And people gave him millions and millions and billions of dollars for it. So it's just like the same kind of thing is happening with AI. That there are these salesmen that are trying to sell you on an idea to get you on board with this thing that they promise will happen. But I think it's worthwhile to sit back and actually like step out of fear, step out of even concern. Maybe fear is too strong a word, but step out of fear, step out of concern, and actually start looking at these guys and asking, does this thing actually do what you say it's doing? Because I think there's a real emperor has new clothes moment coming with AI, where lots of people are suddenly going to start asking these questions, and lots of investors, lots of people who have put money in are going to start saying, hey, does this thing do the thing you say it's actually doing? And from everything I've seen, the answer is no. And why doesn't it? Because these guys are psychopaths. They're lying. Like, have they advanced a tool? Sure. Like, I can believe that I use ChatGPT. It has its uses as like a generalized search engine, right? But I don't trust ChatGPT. It's wrong more often than it's right. Vermi writes, the psychopaths are not the ones who discovered neural networks. Sure, but they're the ones that own it. Like, they're the ones that own it. Like, Thomas Edison didn't discover the light bulb, he owned it, and you know who he is, and you have no idea who invented the light bulb. I think all I'm trying to say is that we should doll up a pretty heavy amount of skepticism towards this AI stuff, and that this moment we're experiencing, like, we can and do, as humans, erect gods. Do you know where they modeled the neural network from? Please, let me know. Probably just the human brain, right? But humans have the tendency... Yeah, of course they modeled the neural network from the human brain. What else would they do? Humans have a tendency to erect gods. We have a tendency to imagine things that aren't really there. That's kind of how we are. And whenever I look at this AI conversation, that's pretty much what I see. I just see a bunch of scared monkeys raising like a hammer to the same level as a god. And I'm just like, I just don't see it. I just don't think it's there. Moreover, I think that there's like enough difficulty getting there. Vermi says, but I am saying it's very interesting to see how a simplistic version of a neural network produces the amazing results we have today, which kind of shows we're on the right track. I mean, I think that what we have with AI is just a fairly advanced autocomplete system. Like, it's a search engine, fundamentally, that just is very broad. It's just a very broad, very deep search engine system that is really good at auto-completing. So you're saying a neural network is just an autocomplete engine? No, I'm saying that the AI systems that we have are just an autocomplete engine. Like, a human brain is actually capable of creation. Like, and is actually capable of problem solving. And is actually capable of, like, logical deduction. Right? Like, that's what a human brain is capable of. AI can't do any of that. It's just an autocomplete. And even worse than that, I think the big problem that we have with AI is that AI is but the AI models we have are built on neural networks, but they aren't a neural network, right? Like, just because you have the model doesn't mean it's, like, complete, or even, like, I feel like we've gone in a big giant circle, that you are convinced that this thing is doing something that it's not doing. And it's doing it because the people who made it told you it was based on the neural network of a human. So, okay, it is a neural network, okay. But it can't solve problems. It's not solving problems. It doesn't have the ability to think critically. Do you know how it works? Again, it's not AGI. Yeah, so we're just going in a little circle here, my man. And it's, I don't know. You're convinced that it's magic, and I'm not. You're convinced it's doing something it's not doing, and I'm convinced it's not. Like, I'm convinced that it's essentially just a more... I recommend looking into neural networks, right? Like, I know what a neural network is. And I recommend taking a look at AI with a little bit more skepticism and being more skeptical of the salesmen that are selling you a product. That's all. Like, you seem to have bought in to something. Maybe looking at it, you'll have a different opinion. See, but you're assuming I haven't looked into it. Like, that's the thing that's kind of weird. Like, this giant autocomplete model, right? First of all, it's not giving productivity gains to anybody. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, it's not actually increasing anybody's productivity, which is the big sales point, is that it's supposed to increase our productivity. Yeah, Long Defiant writes, AI is pattern recognition, nothing more at this point. It can't handle edge cases, so self-driving can never work without eliminating edge cases. Surprises. Yeah, because it can't think critically. Like, that's the whole point, right? Like, if the system can't actually solve problems, if the system can't solve logic problems, then it's not actually thinking. Yeah, a neural network is like a team of people passing notes. Each person does a tiny calculation on the note before handing it to the next, and together they solve a big problem. But again, it's not solving problems. So I just don't think... Like, why am I supposed to be afraid of this thing? Because somebody told me I should be. Oh, okay. Anyway, that is my whole thing with AI. Vermi writes, we need more than just neural network. Yeah, and again, though, I'm a little bit confused why we need this thing. Like, I don't know why we're focusing so much of our attention and so much of our desire to get this. Is it smart to have this? Is it a good idea to have this? Is this something that we should be focusing on as a people? Because it just seems to me like what's happening is that, again, wealthy psychos are grabbing the imagination of humanity and galvanizing us in a direction without actually asking, why do we need this thing? seems like the negative downsides are much larger than the positives. Yeah, for the elite to replace human works. Yeah, exactly. Like, to me, it can only lead to a stagnation for humanity. And that the idea that it's going to somehow increase the quality of life for anyone, I just don't believe that for a moment. I just don't see why we should tolerate that. Eleni writes, I mean, it could be useful in a communist society. I just don't even see it. Like, I just don't see how it's useful for outside of this, like, basic, like, search function. I think it just comes down to, like, what kind of society are we imagining together, right? Like, what are we creating as a people? Like, what do we want? Yeah, they want to create a god. I think that's a bad idea. Like, I just think that's a bad idea. I think this desire to create a god, why not? Okay. Well, now we're going to wade into some very theological territory, Vermi. Because it's sort of odd to me that we have this desire to create an external object that we call a god when we are within a universe that is itself a god, or God itself, if you prefer. That theologically speaking, we are part of experience. We are existent. We live as God. And instead of focusing our attention on what exists and the creative force that is around us and the life that we are currently living, we're busying ourselves with creating this essentially false God in order to do what with it? I'm not even sure. And nobody's really telling me what we're even doing with this thing. Like, what is the value of this God that we're creating? Why should we? Eternal life, as if that's a thing we should want. Ooh, I can't think of a worse idea. Let's stay here forever. Oy. Let's exist within a structure that is completely eternal, that is completely infinite, rather. And utterly unknowable to us. But let's stay here forever. Okay, bud. That's up to you. I think I'm going to move on when my time comes. Long Defiant writes, I could see it being useful in horizontal organized society. That way the gains in productivity could be passed on to the workers rather than extracted by the owners. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always find that argument, Long Defiant, to be more like, yeah, life will be better when capitalists are gone. You know? Like, to me, that's less an argument that says AI will be useful without capitalists, and it's more saying any system will be better without capitalists. Right? Like, I don't need to imagine a world that is better without capitalists in it. Eleni writes, AI can be really helpful and fun. It's just technology is supposed to serve humanity instead of technology serves billionaires. Like, for example, computers, they helped humanity, then the business class helped algorithms and monetize it in such a way that made it insufferable, yeah. Vermi writes, if you want the humanity angle, it will cure all diseases and provide abundance of food for everyone. Well, first of all, we already have abundance of food for everyone. Like, we throw away like 40% of the food that we have, so it's not solving that problem. I just cannot get off, and I don't think I'll ever get off the idea that this is something that's being sold to us by people who are creating the problems in the first place. Like, we are being sold a solution to a problem that would be cured by simply eliminating the people who are creating the problems in the first place. So abundance of food is a good example, right? Yeah, so is the housing market. Like, if we just eliminated the capitalists from the discourse and just distributed the food that we have, like, if we just distributed the food that we had, that would solve your problem. We don't need to get into an idea of AI or anything, right? Yeah, homelessness wouldn't exist if not for capitalists making a profit off housing. Like the housing market as it is, like the idea that we can't house the people that we have is absurd. We obviously can. We're just choosing not to. And the angle that they're using to try to scare people off of collapsing the housing market, which is what we should do, is, oh, that'll ruin everybody's retirement fund. Which I'm like, probably not. Like, will it mean that they won't have like $10 million? Sure. But the idea that it's going to like ruin everybody's retirement fund, the idea of tying people's retirement into housing in the first place has got to be the most asinine shit I've ever heard of in my life. Like, we're insane for having done it. It creates this very obvious intergenerational problem. Yeah, that assumes you should have to sell your house to retire. Yeah. Well, and what's annoying, again, you're talking to somebody who says pretty much every time I do this stream, money's not real, right? We can literally just create retirement systems. We can create, like we have here in Canada, we have something called Social Security. It's essentially a basic income for retirees. Like this, the idea that it's going to create, a retirement crisis is completely solvable, and we're just not solving it. We just choose not to solve problems. That to me is like the fundamental reality of what it is to live in this society. And I feel like this AI conversation ties directly into this, which is that we're pretending as though we can't solve problems and that we need to create a tool to solve these problems for us, because we just pretend as though the problems are unsolvable. Like, you have a retirement crisis, increase funding to Social Security. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what's this crisis you're talking about? Yeah, Fed's cut rates recently, which means print money that will be loaned to rich to buy more assets. Yeah, no, we're in a major decline, Vermi. Like if you're new to the channel, like we're watching a massive cultural decline and an upswell of fascism in the society for sure. And we're in a harvest. We're experiencing a harvest, and it will be followed by abandonment. All AI is doing is presenting information that already exists. Most people just don't know what to search for. Well, and I also think, like, what's the information that it's presenting? Like, it's not going to present information that runs counter to the owner's interests, right? Like, if you search up the history of capitalism, it's going to give you, like, the best possible flowery version and tell you all the good things that capitalists are. So it's not going to actually tell you something that runs counter to the interests of capitalists, because it's not programmed to do that. And like, to me, the big danger of AI is that its primary function is to make you use it. It's not actually trying to tell you what's real or tell you the truth. So if you use it and you're like a flat earther, and you want all the information surrounding flat eartherism, it's going to tell you all that information. And it's not going to tell you, by the way, this is bullshit. Like, this is wrong. Well, I mean, if you looked up if tariffs were helpful, the AI would straight up tell you it's wrong. I don't think so. That's not how the AI works. Like, what AI will do is at the beginning of the conversation, it'll say, this is a controversial policy, and there are many thoughts on both sides. And then as you take it down Like it's just going to confirm your bias. That's what it does. It's a bias confirmation tool. And what it wants is for you to A, like it, and then B, for you to continue using it. That's the whole function of it. And if it were to tell you straight out that you were wrong, well, then you would probably stop using it. And so it'll always keep you on the hook. It'll always give you the information. It'll give you all the information you need to have your bias confirmed. And like, again, right at the beginning of the conversation, it might say, this is a controversial, but generally people who like that kind of stuff like that it's controversial. It makes them feel like they're cool and edgy. Where are the millions of truck drivers going to do for a job when AI replaces them? I mean, I find it pretty unlikely that AI actually will replace drivers just because it's not been very successful. Like the theory of an AI, a driverless car, is a fun, interesting idea. It's just not working. But it is a question worth posing, not because of AI, but because of the nature of how the society is going, right? Like that as wealth pools underneath less and less people, right? Less and less people need to... Hold on one second. I've actually got something worth putting up here. Oh, come on. I had it. Didn't I have it? Oh, you know what? I bet you it's in the Discord. Give me a second here. Did I see it and then just decide not to put it up? Like, wealth is pooling underneath smaller and smaller hands. And what that means is that less and less people are required to be hired and to be employed to service those people. And more people are not able to... Oh well. More and more people are not able to participate in the economy. People aren't able to buy stuff. And seems like this leads to UBI. Yeah, that's sort of a talking point. That's sort of a thing that people mention. I find that pretty unlikely. I find it pretty unlikely that the ruling class will actually implement a basic income. That they tend to view a basic income as like a war measure, right? Like something that is just absolutely, totally... But I think the more likely result is that we're just going to see an increase in homelessness, and that we're just going to see an expansion of homelessness encampments. And then instead of implementing a basic income, the ruling class will use the money they would spend on a basic income to fund police forces to clear those encampments. It'll be like one big gigantic circular make-work project, right? And it'll be very unique to capitalists where you'll have these homeless encampments getting cleared out by cops, and then a re-erection of some kind of homeless encampment which will be cleared out by cops. And it'll just be a little... Vermeer says, for elite class, it will be a net gain by absorbing the middle class wealth and giving UBI scraps to keep consumer markets flowing. Yeah, I think that what you've said there is rational, Vermi, but that the ruling class is not rational. Like, they're going to just abandon us. I think that's sort of something I think people need to begin really taking seriously. Like, they're not even going to give us the scraps. They're just going to abandon us. And that the scraps that they're going to give are going to be essentially confined to their company towns. They need consumers, though, for the transition period to AGI. You're just falling for the salesmanship, man. Like, you're just falling for the grift. Like they don't need anything anymore. The only thing that they're trying, no, they don't. They don't need people buying goods. No, they don't. They're going to retreat to their gated communities. The any goods they need for themselves, they'll have, right? They're not interested in what happens outside their gates. That right now it's less about building some kind of economy. It's about making sure there isn't a backlash against them. First-time commenter by the name of Noms, if they didn't need to sell stuff, they would stop. But, I mean, they don't have to. Like, eventually they will, because they're not going to make any money anymore. And, again, money isn't where power rests, right? Yeah, they always want more, but eventually it stops. Eventually the choice is between you and them. And they're going to choose them every single time. Like, they don't care about you. They don't care about you even a little. Like, you are just a cow to them. You are just cattle. And eventually the system that they're creating stops working, right? That we won't be able to buy goods anymore because we won't have the ability to do so. And when that happens, they'll just walk away from us. Oh, Baldy, with a $20 donation. Thank you, Baldy. I appreciate that. Baldy writes, I just finished watching Shoe on Head's video on Charlie Kirk, and I can describe her video in one word, cancer, spoiler warning. She said we're all Charlie Kirk, basically confirming that she's a Nazi. Yeah, Shoe on Head's an odd one to me. Like, I watched some of her content back in the day, and I just sort of disconnected from it because I just found it to be kind of like low-hanging fruit. It's pretty banal. Like, she's a cute girl saying sassy things on the internet, and so she's popular. But her perspective isn't, like, interesting. I just don't know how to describe her. Like, I don't really get her fan base too much. And, like, I don't think that she's a Nazi. I just think that she's okay with Nazis. You know what I mean? Like, she I think, views herself as a enlightened centrist type. Just somebody who gets to kind of smirkingly say who's the real Nazi, you know? Who doesn't really have much to add to the conversation and generally just kind of goes and, like, her entire channel and her entire video is finding the most possible extreme viewpoints on Twitter and then highlighting those. And then pretending as if those most extreme views are the normal view, right? And in so doing, shifting the Overton window towards, the Nazis, usually. Yeah. Like, I mean, saying we're all Charlie Kirk is like... Look, the Charlie Kirk situation, the thing that I think... I've said it before and I'll say it again. What it's really revealing, again, into the society, is that fascism is very popular. That fascism is probably the most popular political ideology of the day. And that Charlie Kirk, who, like, you can say Nazi or not, but he is a fascist. Like, that's absolutely the truth. That a fascist like Charlie Kirk is just popular. And that's just kind of the bottom line. That when he gets assassinated, he got his... they hung the flag at half-mast for Charlie Kirk. That happens because he's popular. Like, he was able to get these crowds surrounding him. That happens because he's popular. Like, he's a popular figure. And a big reason why he's popular is because people agree with him. Like, you can see it all this last week. Like, the big thing that happened with Charlie Kirk was, you're taking what he said out of context. And then they would show you the context, and it would actually make it worse. he would actually come across as even worse when you put it in the context. And then you realize the people who are saying, oh, you're just taking him out of context. It's not that he's being taken out of context. It's just that they agree with what he says. That, like, when he says that gay people shouldn't be married and shouldn't have the right to marry one another, people put that up and are like, see, that's evidence that he's not homophobic. And it's like, that the opposite is true, in fact. Eleni writes, Shuan head is a fence sitter, to be honest. I think the phrase that I would use is enlightened centrist, right? Like, enlightened centrist is the like, we need to find compromise between people who want to commit a genocide and people who don't. That kind of thinking, you know? If you don't actually take a position on anything, then you can appeal to a broader base, basically. It's a fine survival strategy. Noms writes, Charlie is a pro-Israel and West Jordan man. He is hated in the Nazi and alt-right circles. That's a more complex conversation, because, like, there are lots of Nazi groups that are pro-Israel because of their pro-apartheid position. And, like, Christian nationalism and Christian Zionism is really, really tied in to Nazism and the Nazi movement generally, right? Like Nazism historically in Germany was anti-Jew for sure, but the times they haven't changed. And which isn't to say that there aren't Nazi groups that are against Israel and all of this, but it's a bit more complex if you ask me. What group is fascist and not Nazi-sided by their own claim? So, fascism is a subservience to the state which is dominated by business interests. Like, that's essentially what fascism is. Whereas Nazism is the next level, which takes it into racial apartheid. And there are... So, for example, someone like Matt Walsh, right? Matt Walsh calls himself a theocratic fascist. You can go on his Twitter. He has it right there. He calls himself a theocratic fascist. But he wouldn't consider himself a Nazi, right? So Matt Walsh is a pretty clear example of somebody who is exactly like that. And that if you were to talk Nazism with Matt Walsh, he would actually argue against Nazism. Nazism in this case being understood as racial apartheid. Eleni says fascists don't call themselves fascists. I mean, they most certainly do. Like, the Mussolini for sure called himself a fascist. And, like... But there is this, what happened, Noms writes, somebody said, fascists don't call themselves fascists, so Noms writes, yes we do. So Noms, you consider yourself a fascist. Is that correct? Can you define fascism? What is it that you believe? Hey, Baldy, if you're still out there, my man, thanks for that $20 donation, my man. That's really kind of you, you know. I gotta tell you, Baldy, like, I feel like almost every week you donate something, and I really appreciate it. I gotta tell you. It's really encouraging. It's really encouraging. And it really helps me feel good about what I do here, you know. Because I tend to just view myself as somebody who is just trying to shine a light out there and trying to give people kind of an opportunity to be challenged, or to see that there is hope, at least to the degree that there are other people out there who think the way they do. And that's really why I keep hitting the stream. It's because I think that there's a lot of despair in the world. And I think people are despairing. And I feel like I'm kind of here to be like, yeah, like the reality that you're experiencing exists. You're not crazy for viewing it the way that you do. And that even though it's going into decline, we don't need to fall into despair. And that's important to me. And it's important to me. Baldy McNose Hair writes, I don't know, man. Shoe on Head has really fallen off, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, look, my highest criticism of Shoe on Head is that they're boring. That's it. It's like how I feel about Vosh and Destiny. I just don't get why people watch them. They're just kind of boring. They're not very intelligent, and they don't really provide anything. Like, I don't really get why people watch them. You know, anytime I tune in, I'm just like, okay, I'm waiting for something interesting to happen, or I'm waiting for this person to say something interesting, or for them to, and then anytime they're challenged, they just like lose their shit, and it's just not interesting. So I don't really get what people are getting out of these people. Noms writes, absolutely I am. Authoritarian populism. Mine in a base of Coptic Christianity. So, what do you make of the idea that Christ is certainly not a fascist? Like, how do you square this circle that your religious leader, Jesus Christ, was certainly not a fascist? And so, how do you square that circle? Eleni writes, most intelligent fascists don't call themselves fascists until they are in power. I mean, I think that there's just a lot, because of the trajectory of fascism, and then it's kind of morphing into neoliberalism. There's a lot of people who hold fascist views, and are fascist, in fact, who don't believe that. And they don't want to acknowledge that they are fascist because they are... they don't want to acknowledge that they're fascist because they are... because they want to disassociate from the negative cultural view of fascism. Noms writes, he has literally given commands to wipe out people to the Jews, had a claim to the throne of Israel, gave extremely specific commands to the world with detailed punishments. Can you source any of that? Here. Because the Christ that I'm aware of, right? The Christ that I know, when he was asked, what's your great commandment? Right? Because he was asked straight up, what's your great commandment? Right? He said to love the Lord your God with all your heart, and all your soul, and all your mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And he didn't put a little asterisk on it and say, unless they're gay, or unless they're of this kind of quality. Right? So, here's my Bible. Can you source your claims? Because the Christ that I'm aware of was a believer in love. That he wanted people to come together to create communities. The first Christians were communists, pretty nakedly. And a lot of communist theory is based on the early churches. So, if you could source your claims, because my experience is that fascists don't actually read their Bible. They just like to say things and pretend as though they have authority when they don't, which is ironic because they call themselves authoritarian populists. The trouble is that occasionally you run into people who read the book. So we're waiting. Consider that this is like the backbone of your argument. You'd think you'd actually have this. Probably frantically asking ChatGPT. Yeah, he's not even here. Yeah, that's classic. No, that's classic. That's classic fascist behavior. Puff out your chest, and then the minute you're challenged, just run away. That's why the best thing that we should do with fascists is fight them. Not talk to them, but just literally fight them. Because they're such cowards. They'll just run away. The Pharisees of Jordan about the wine field. It's just nothing. Like, it's just nothing. Like, I don't actually believe you read your Bible. Like, you just sound like a kind of a coward who is just espousing something that you don't actually know anything about the subject. You call yourself a fascist because you're too scared of gay people or whatever. And you hold up a Bible that you don't read and you don't know anything about. Like, I'm looking for something like Luke 18:4. Like, there's your source. Right? I know you don't actually read your Bible, but yeah, you'd have to use the Old Testament. Even that's dicey. Oh yeah, you get into the Old Testament stuff, and that's just like... I'm trying to find... Here, I'm just going to look it up. Jesus, a great commandment. Mark. I thought it was Luke. That's my bad. Mark. Let's get it from the book itself. Mark 12:28. There we go. The first commandment. One of the scribes came near and heard them disputing with one another, and seeing that, he answered them well, and asked him, "Which commandment is the first of all?" Jesus answered, "The first is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." Then the scribe said to him, "You are right, teacher. You have truly said that he is one, and beside him there is no other, and to love him with all the heart, and with the understanding, and with all the strength, and to love one's neighbor as oneself. This is much more important than all whole burnt offerings and sacrifices." When Jesus saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." After that, No one dared to ask him any question. Yeah. Condon also points out, so Jesus shows up, God in flesh, and the most militant and dangerous he ever got was attacking the moneyed interests in the temple, which, if you actually talk to a biblical scholar on that issue, that's actually Jesus upholding the law. That the people who were selling the sacrifices in the temple were in violation of the law. And so Christ didn't just lose his shit against evil doing or whatever, right? He literally was like, this is in violation of the law. It is blasphemous. It's you are evil doers. And so he chases them out of the temple because they were breaking the law, and also, being dickbags, essentially. And the Bible makes this pretty clear, that when these moneyed interests come and grab Christ after this event, they bring him in front of Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate doesn't say that Christ is guilty. He washes his hands of it. He says that he doesn't want to be involved in it. And so Christ is essentially crucified for upholding the law in his own land. Why didn't fascist Jesus just miracle the undesirables away? Yeah, exactly. John 7. All right, we finally have something. The whole of John 7, the whole chapter. John 7. John 7. The unbelief of Jesus' brothers. After this, Jesus went about in Galilee. He did not wish to go about in Judea because the Jews were looking for an opportunity to kill him. Now the Jewish festival of booths was near. So his brothers said to him, "Leave here and go to Judea, so that your disciples may also see the works you are doing. For no one who wants to be widely known acts in secret. If you do these things, show yourself to the world." For not even his brothers believed in him. Jesus said to them, "My time has not yet come, but your time is always here. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me, because I testify against it that its works are evil. Go to the festival yourself. I am not going to the festival, for my time has not yet fully come." After saying this, he remained in Galilee. Jesus at the festival of booths. But after his brothers had gone to the festival, then he also went, not publicly, but as it were in secret. The Jews were looking for him at the festival and saying, "Where is he?" And there was considerable complaining about him among the crowd. While some were saying, "He is a good man," others were saying, "No, he is deceiving the crowd." Yet no one would speak openly about him for fear of the Jews. About the middle of the festival, Jesus went up to the temple and began to teach. The Jews were astonished at it, saying, "How does this man have such learning, when he has never been taught?" Then Jesus answered them, "My teaching is not mine, but his who sent me. Anyone who resolves to do the will of God will know whether the teaching is from God or whether I am speaking on my own. Those who speak on their own seek their own glory. But the one who seeks the glory of him who has sent him is true, and there is nothing false in him. Did not Moses give you the law? Yet none of you keeps the law. Why are you looking for an opportunity to kill me?" The crowd answered, "You have a demon who is trying to kill you." Jesus answered them, "I performed one work, and all of you are astonished. Moses gave you circumcision. It is, of course, not from Moses, but from the patriarchs. And you circumcise a man on the Sabbath. If a man receives circumcision on the Sabbath in order that the law of Moses may not be broken, are you angry with me because I healed a man's whole body on the Sabbath? Do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment. Is this the Christ? Now some of the people of Jerusalem were saying, "Is not this man whom they are trying to kill? And here he is, speaking openly, but they say nothing to him. Can it be that the authorities really know that this is the Messiah? Yet we know where this man is from. But when the Messiah comes, no one will know where he is from." Then Jesus cried out as he was teaching in the temple, "You know me, and you know where I am from. I have not come on my own, but the one who sent me is true, and you do not know him. I know him because I am from him, and he sent me." Then they tried to arrest him, but no one laid a hand on him because his hour had not yet come. Yet many in the crowd believed in him and were saying, "When the Messiah comes, he will do more signs than this man has done." Officers are sent to arrest Jesus. The Pharisees heard the crowd muttering such things about him, and the chief priests and Pharisees sent temple police to arrest him. Jesus then said, "I will be with you a little while longer, and then I am going to him who sent me. You will search for me, but you will not find me, and where I am you cannot come." The Jews said to one another, "Where does this man intend to go that he will not find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? What does he mean by that? You will search for me and you will not find me, and where I am you cannot come?" Rivers of living water. On the last day of the festival, the great day, when Jesus was standing there, he cried out, "Let anyone who is thirsty come to me, and let the one who believes in me drink. As the scripture has said, out of the believer's heart shall flow rivers of living water." Now he said this about the Spirit, which believers in him were to receive. For as yet there were no Spirit, because Jesus was not yet glorified. Division among the people. When they heard these words, some in the crowd said, "This is really the prophet." Others said, "This is the Messiah." But some asked, "Surely the Messiah does not come from Galilee, does he? But has not the scripture said that the Messiah descended from David and comes from Bethlehem, the village where David lived?" So there was a division in the crowd because of him. Some of them wanted to arrest him, but no one laid hands on him. The unbelief of those in authority. Then the temple police went back to the chief priests and Pharisees, who asked them, "Why did you not arrest him?" The police answered, "Never has anyone spoken like this." Then the Pharisees replied, "Surely you have not been deceived too, have you? Has any one of the authorities or of the Pharisees believed in him? But this crowd, which does not know the law, they are accursed." Nicodemus, who had gone to Jesus before, and who was one of them, asked, "Our law does not judge people without first giving them a hearing to find out what they are doing, does it?" They replied, "Surely you are not also from Galilee, are you? Search, and you will see that no prophet is to arise from Galilee." And that's John 7. So that was John 7. I just read the whole thing. Yeah, and Eleni's got it. How does this support fascism? Did Jesus just say due process is necessary? No, it wasn't. That wasn't Jesus that said that. That was Nicodemus. Nicodemus, who had gone to Jesus before and who was one of them, asked, "Our law does not judge people without first giving them a hearing to find out what they're doing, does it?" So it was Nicodemus that said that, specifically. But yes, that is an argument for due process. This incredibly fascist John 7, which is what has been given to me as a chapter that apparently supports fascism, which I just read in whole. Sorry if it got a little dry there. This is basically what I'm talking about, you guys. Like, these people are not reading this book. Like, they're not actually reading it. Like, this is not an argument for fascism. Like, this is not an argument for fascism. It's just, like literally, this is like the preamble. This is Christ, like, he's not even like Christ yet. He's not even like the full, he's not even in like the full blood of anything. Yeah, these are not serious people. Like, the only reason they're serious is because they're so violent. And they espouse like a hyper-violent doctrine. Namus writes, ew, workism? What are you talking about? Workism? Like, dude, I just read the chapter that you gave where you said that this is supporting your position. What are you even talking about? Like, I just read it aloud on stream. You called Christ was not Christ because he wasn't working. No, I mean, like, in the flow of the story, right? Like, he's not yet in the fullness of his... nobody knows who he is. The book itself just said that. Jesus said that. Right? Yeah, my time has not fully come. So you're not even really making an argument for yourself here, my man. Like, how does this support your claim? Like, your original claim. I don't even know why I'm bothering doing this. Like, this guy doesn't, like, really obviously is not reading this book. Like, so you said, Noms, he has literally given commands to wipe out people. He had claim to the throne of Israel and gave extremely specific commands to the world with detailed punishments. And then for support on that, you gave me John 7. And I just read John 7, and it contains none of that. So, my question then is, how does John 7 doesn't contain anything that you claimed it did. And so the only conclusion that I can reach is that you're illiterate. Right? Like, how does this support your claims? Okay. Oh, John 7 was to someone else. Oh, okay. So you gave me the wine field. Where's that? Oh, okay. So that's something different, guys. You see what debating a fascist looks like, guys? You see what it looks like? You see how stupid they are? Yeah, it's goofy. Like, he's obviously illiterate. And he's obviously doing things to sort of pull teeth. Like, he's not being upfront. He's just lying and making false claims. He's not intelligent, very clear. So, Noms, where is this Winefield argument in the book? And if you don't tell me in the next comment, I'm just going to ban you. So, again, fascists only argue and debate for two reasons. And you're seeing that pretty clearly here, right? So we should thank Noms for showing up to really affirm what we already know. Right? Oh, you think Matthew 20. Oh, okay. Can't be bothered to even do a Google search. Okay. And those reasons are to A, terrorize, and B, recruit. Oh, yeah, okay. So here's the argument. Here's the argument for fascism, guys, finally. The laborers in the vineyard. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. When he went about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You also go to the vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. When he went out again about noon, and about 3 o'clock he did the same. At about 5 o'clock he went out and found others standing around, and he said to them, "Why are you standing here idle all day?" And they said, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You also go into the vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his manager, "Call the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and going to the first." When those hired about 5 o'clock came, each of them received the usual daily wage. Now when the first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received the usual daily wage. And when they received it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last only worked 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous? So the last will be first, and the first will be last." But what about the hostages? Did I get a new mic? Not yet, dude. If you would like to help me get a new mic, please consider donating, because my mic I do need a new mic. And I need to go through and actually do a reconfiguration of my audio for sure. I definitely need to do that. This mic is starting to die. I was in denial. I was denying it, but I've got to admit it. And I'd like to get a real good mic. So Namus says, based the state deciding what to do. So for the kingdom of heaven, right? So the whole story starts with, for the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner. So you're just actively missing the point. Right? I don't think you actually read this. Right? So it starts with, for the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner. And instead of hearing what the point of it is, that God will treat his people as he wills and will be generous, right? Instead of that, you've layered on some interpretation of the state. Yeah, that sounded like a primitive take of socialism to me. That's what I got out of it. So, I think what we have here is just a fascist who doesn't actually read the Bible. Yeah, there's a person in my Twitch who calls himself a fascist, who is obviously illiterate, and obviously doesn't read this book. Who is using this section that I just read. Yeah, they got what they needed despite their work, right? And it doesn't actually have anything to do with the state at all. What's so funny is that this section has nothing to do with the state. For the kingdom of heaven is like, so it's an analogy, right? Fascists are pretty dumb, so I don't think that they understand how analogy and metaphor works. So the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. So creating the analogy that the kingdom of heaven is like a businessman. It has nothing to do with the state. Right? At no point is this anything to do with the state. That this businessman is not the state. And that when I finished it, this fascist went, based the state deciding what to do. So, literally, the chapter has nothing to do with the state, or the power of the state, or anything like that. In fact, it has to do completely with the generosity of the business owner, right? It has completely to do, like, what's this phrase, right? Yeah, friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous? So, yeah, Noms, now what you're doing is creating, like, an ancillary argument that has nothing to do with the text, right? And that ancillary argument that you're creating is running counter to the text, right? That fascism, like, you're layering fascism into the text that you don't read very clearly, that you've just been given this by somebody and you've never actually read it or thought about it. It is literally in the text the agreement on power to the authority. So, the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. This is an analogy. It's a metaphor to help people understand what heaven is like and what God is like. And that you, who obviously doesn't read this book, like, very nakedly, dude, it's extremely obvious that you're not actually reading this book, have decided that this means something else. It's pretty obvious, which flows in really easily and really simply into what I have always observed about fascists, which is that you're only talking to terrorize and recruit. Then you write, this isn't about heaven, it's about Zion. Literally the first line. And I've said it so many times, it's kind of embarrassing for you that I'm going to repeat it. Matthew 20. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. And you say it isn't about heaven, for the kingdom of heaven, but you say it's not about heaven, even though it says for the kingdom of heaven. It's about Zion, a word that they don't use. Noms writes, right, what is the kingdom of heaven on earth called? According to this, nothing, because this isn't about that. It's not about the kingdom of heaven on earth, it's about the kingdom of heaven. I don't see on earth here. Why are you adding things? Like, why are you adding things to a text that you don't read? You see how frustrating this is, eh? Like, you see how annoying this is. What about the hostages says, unironically, my favorite fascists are the ones who call themselves fascists, just like how I respect conservatives, they're honest. Yeah, it's liberals that terrify me. Yeah, I can understand that. Unknowing writes, oof, I see where the prosperity gospel people misinterpret Jesus. Compton writes, but a communist state can decide what to do too. Yeah, the fuck? Noms, I'm just convinced that you're not actually reading this book. Like, I think that's what it is. I think I'm pretty happy to move on from this conversation, because I just think you're illiterate. Like, you're adding things to the text that aren't there. You're layering on ancillary interpretations that have nothing to do with what the text is. It's pretty obvious to me that you're a fascist because you're stupid. And it's pretty much the bottom line, right? Like, we don't need to continue this conversation because I don't think that you're actually reading your own book. And I think you're a fascist because you're not very intelligent. A fat guy. What a dummy. Like, all you've done is prove my point, my man. That fascists are illiterate and not intelligent. So we can just move on from this. I might actually just shut this one down, guys. That was a fun little deviation. No fascists in the chat. Happy to get rid of you. And so we just watched a fascist completely embarrass himself for about a half hour, right? Like, and it's just like embarrassing. Like, I just don't know. This is the reason why fascists rely on chaos. Because they're too stupid. They can't hold their own in a conversation. They're not intelligent. And so they have to rely on violence and they have to rely on chaos. Yeah, but marketplace of ideas, man. Yeah, well, that's sort of like pretending like fascism is an idea. It's like, let's beat up minorities. Oh. Yeah, let's beat up minorities and scapegoat people while pretending like that exists in a book we don't read. Like, it's just embarrassing. It's like, oh, Laney, I think I hit the ban button and then accidentally hit the unban button again, and so he commented again. But like, what we just witnessed is why fascists rely on violence. Because they have no alternative. Because their points are so dumb and so backwards and so stupid. Like, they literally don't even read the text that they draw their philosophy from. All I did was read the text that he gave me. It revealed pretty clearly that this guy doesn't read this. Like, what are we supposed to do against that? Like, what are we supposed to do against people who refuse to use reason? Who refuse to exist in a place of rational thought? Who clearly despise their Christ? Who clearly hate their texts? Like, why would... I don't really understand why people act this way. I don't really get why people think that this is a good way to live in the world. That's what's sort of frustrating. Like, why exist like this? Why be like this? Why insist that we should be making the world harder for everyone? And why misread a text in order to do it? Like, that's what's so embarrassing. Like, all I did is just read what he told me to read. And it became really clear that he just never read it. Baldy says, people are going after Hassan because he dares to call out fascists. Also, his recent clip of fascism is on point. I've given him a lot of criticisms over the years, but he's on point recently. I mean, Hassan is in a position where he has to be. Like, Hassan is in a position where he has to be, like, technically correct every single time. He knows exactly... Like, he is in a position right now where he has to be hyper vigilant. Like, he knows that he is, like, one step off. He knows it. Like, they're banning Jimmy Kimmel, dude. Like, they're gonna go after Hassan. 100%. So Hassan is pretty aware that when he talks, he's got to be correct. Like, and not just morally correct. He needs to be technically correct. That he can't just be goofing on people right now. He can't just be like, ho ho, look at this idiot, haha, dunk. Right? He can't speak hyperbolically. He can't speak metaphorically. He can't speak... he can't use analogies. Right? He can't use slang. He can't do any of that. 0.000% of that. He does not have the wiggle room at all. And like, that touches down on something that I know is going to happen to me, and it's for sure going to happen to him, is that we all eventually get purged, you know. Like, eventually this channel goes away, and eventually Hassan goes away, and eventually it all gets purged. Like, the purges are coming. And we shouldn't fool ourselves about that. That they will just purge. And, like, we've got... This is a story that I haven't even talked about yet. The CEOs of Discord, Steam, Twitch, and Reddit have been called to testify in front of Congress. They will answer to the American people how their platforms have been used by radicals to advance political violence, including the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Like, we know where this is going, right? Like, we're not going to be dummies about this, are we? Because, like, most political commentators out there right now are fascist. And, or at least sympathetic to fascism. And so, who's going to get purged from these platforms? Do you think it's going to be the fascists? Dude, this conversation I just had with this Nom guy, like... It just is so lame that... It's just so lame that this decline is so stupid. It's just so lame that it looks this stupid. That's what's so lame about it. That it looks as stupid as it looks. Why has it got to be so stupid? Like, literally just read what he told me to read. Alright, guys. I think I've reached the end of this stream. Went a little bit longer this time. I'm happy. I'm proud of myself. Good for me. I've been closing down pretty early recently. Thanks, guys, for being here. Consider liking, sharing, subscribing. Consider donating. Even $1 helps. Always remember, guys, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.